Hey everybody, welcome back to One Seed, One World. So today I am starting the 2025 garden, and I am starting off with planting onions that I am starting indoors as usual from seed. Now you can start from seed sets, but I generally prefer to start them from seed. And today I am going to be planting Walla Walla Sweets, and we'll get into a little bit of details about the Walla Walla Sweets and get them planted, and I'll show you a couple of planting tips with starting your onions indoors. All right, so Walla Walla Sweet Onions have been in the US for probably over 100 years. It was actually back in the 1800s that a French soldier named Peter Pieri brought them to Walla Walla, Washington from the island of Corsica. And once those seeds got started there, it was basically Walla Walla had a great climate for growing these onions. They did very well, and over many of the decades and up until now, they've kind of gone through some changes a little bit, different hybrids and whatnot, but they have reached the point to the Walla Walla Sweet Onions that are so famous now. So they have been here a long time. So why grow onions yourself, or why start them indoors from seed? Well, and why grow Walla Walla Sweets, right? All right, so let's go over a couple of reasons here. Number one, Walla Walla Sweets are a very sweet, delicious onion. Some people have even eaten them like apples, straight, just crunching away. Because they are more mild and sweet, they are much less likely to make you cry when you're chopping them, because some onions will really get, with those sulfur smells, really get the tears running. Walla Walla Sweets have less chance of doing that to you. And growing onions from seed is much better than getting them at your local grocery store. One, you can choose which varieties of onions that you want. They will taste much better. You can pick them right out of the garden, bring them into your kitchen, and know what you're getting, know what went into them. And Walla Walla Sweets is a great choice just because they are such a good, tasty onion. Plus, they're really kind of famous. They have their own Walla Walla Sweet Onion Festival in Walla Walla, Washington. I lived there for a couple of years back in the 90s, and I remember the fields of onions that were out there, and Walla Walla onions were all over the place out there, and I really liked them. And you can find them in many grocery stores around the country now, but if you can grow them yourself, that's even better. So if you're not starting from seed sets and you are starting from seed, you want to get them started earlier in the season. I normally start my onions in February. The general rule is about 8 to 10 weeks before your last frost date is when you want to start them from seed indoors. I'm about 7 weeks out, so I'm cutting it a little close, but I think I'll still be fine. Now, Walla Walla Sweets are long day onions. There are long day and short day onions, and I think there's also something that's in between. Maybe they're midday onions. I forget the name of them. But there are different types of varieties, and you will want to choose a variety that might works best well in your area. Some do better in different growing zones. But a long day onion needs probably about 10 to 14 hours of sunlight per day. So if you're in an area that does not get that during the summer months, then you might want to look at a short day onion, which requires less time, probably more around the 8-hour range or so. But Walla Walla Sweets are long day onions. So with starting onions indoors, what are you going to need? Well, you're going to need onion seeds for to start, and then you're going to want to get some sort of growing container to put them in. I like using these trays. These like little seed starting cells. These work great for onions because they're not really in there that long, so you're not going to have to worry about uppotting them. So these smaller ones work great for onions. And then there's these have holes in them to let water through, and then you put a tray underneath, and so these just fit right in there. I'll put a link down below where you can get some similar trays to these. You're going to want a good potting soil mix. You can use seed starting mix. So there's seed starting mix, and then there's potting soil mix. I prefer to just use potting soil mix. Seed starting mix is great if you are just going to have your plants germinated in them, and then going to up pot them into regular potting soil. But to me, it's why bother with two different soils? There is enough nutrients in regular soil mix to get your plants germinated and started, whereas your seed starting mix only kind of has enough to get them going. It does not have enough nutrients in it to keep the plant going if you're not going to be transplanting them outside in a short amount of time, or trying to leave them in the pot for a while. You're going to have to up pot them or plant them outside if you want to keep them with enough nutrients. So just starting out with general potting soil is fine. I personally like Happy Frog from Fox Farms, but get whatever you're used to, whatever's available in your area. Just make sure it's good quality seed starting mix. You may have seen in some of my past videos where instead of planting my onions in these, I just kind of put them all in like a tin tray. You can kind of use whatever you have. Just make sure they have proper drainage. But what I found is when I kind of grouped them all together in one single tray, was that when I did transplant them outside, they were kind of a pain to pull apart. And so using these little seed starting cells to break them up while they're growing, it makes it a lot easier. You can just pop it out and stick it in the ground outside instead of trying to have to pull them all apart. But get whatever fits in your budget, whatever works for you. And you don't have to be hard and fast rule on a specific type of starting tray, starting cell, starting pot. Use paper cups if that's all you got. Use what you have the ability to use. And then really the last thing that you're going to need to start your onions is a well-lit, warmish area. I use my little mini greenhouses with grow lights. If you've got a warm, sunny window, whatever works the best for you. I'll put some links down below for some of the things that I've worked with over the years that have worked well for me. I actually want to replace my normal little mini greenhouses. I want to build my own kind of bigger thing. I've built one before for a friend that was doing some gardening, but I haven't, and I really liked the thing that I built, but I haven't built it myself. It's just bigger, has more room than the little mini greenhouses that I use, which I have several that I use in my basement to start seeds in the spring. But, so seed starting trays, soil, your seeds, and a well-lighted area to grow them in. All right, to get started, you will want to get everything set up. You can see here I've got 2 of these trays filled with soil. I've already put water in them. You want your soil to be damp. You don't want it to be soggy, just kind of moist. Plants need, or I should say seeds need that moisture to get going. That's the thing that will soften up their outer shell, if you want to call it that, and get them sprouting. So onions are going to want, and really most seeds are going to want a little bit of watering. Now, once you start planting, they don't have to be very deep for onions, just maybe about a 1/4 inch or less. You can kind of just press them down the soil and just top it off with a little bit more topsoil over top of it, and then you're good to go. They're really easy, not a whole lot of work that you have to do with them. Now, once I get my seeds in here, even though I've moistened the soil, it didn't hit all the spots exactly. So I'm going to put my seeds in each one of these little cells and then cover them over, and then I'll probably give them a little spray with a little more water on top just to add a little bit of extra moisture, and then I'll put it in my little greenhouse. Now initially the seeds are not going to need light, they just need warmth and moisture is all they need to get germinated. Once they sprout, then they are going to need light throughout the day. But what I do in my mini greenhouses, because with the plastic over them, the light also generates warmth, and your onions are going to want a temperature between 65 and 75 degrees to get germinated and sprouted for you. They'll take about 1 to 2 weeks to get sprouted. Probably will depend on your variety and your conditions, but that's a general overall rule that you're going to be waiting about a week or two before you start seeing little sprouts popping up. And just kind of keep your soil moist throughout the time. Make sure they stay warm. So I'll leave my lights on all the time until they sprout, just to keep that warmth going in there and that kind of little bit of humidity and whatnot. Then once they do sprout, then basically I just leave the lights on during the day and turn them off at night, just like they were outside. Now, you'll plant them outside, transplant them outside around the time of your last frost, or you can sometimes even do it a little bit before for your last frost date. Onions are, good to get out early, and they will sometimes, depending on how early you start them, they might get kind of tall inside and get like a little floppy, like the little green sprouts will start flopping over and stuff. And what you can do is just trim them off so that they're just like a couple inches, 2 to 3 inches high. That won't hurt the plant. They will fill back in and grow, and that will kind of keep them from flopping over. Plus it will actually help strengthen the plant. They will, they'll recover from that, and that will make them stronger. So if you've planted them too early to get them outside, do a little trim and keep them strong. And then once you are able to transplant them outside, then you are good to go. Then now say your plants are ready to go. They'll probably be about pencil thick is kind of what you're looking for. And then you can start transplanting them outside once the ground is workable, which will probably be close to your last frost date. You'll want to space them out about 4 to 6 inches apart and probably give them a little bit more watering in. And in future videos, as I start doing this myself, because this is just planting day in late February, I'll show you some of this in future videos as I'm doing stuff. But 4 to 6 inches apart, give them a little watering in, and then just kind of let them grow. Onions overall are very easy to grow. They don't take a whole lot of work. You do want to keep them weeded because they don't like a lot of competition. But other than that, just making sure that they get watered, probably about 1 inch of water per week or so, and keep them weeded, and you won't have to do much of anything else at all. And then you'll be harvesting onions, come later on in the summer. Now, if you have poor soil, then you may need to do fertilizing, every couple weeks or once a month to make sure they have enough nutrients to grow properly. If you've got decent soil, then you might not need to do a whole lot of much of anything. They also like an area of full sun. So wherever you're transplanting them out to, put them in an area of full sun. As we talked about earlier, if you're doing long day onions, they're going to need, somewhere between 10 and 14 hours per day of sunlight, whereas the short day onions will probably be more like 8 to 10. It takes about 90 to 120 days to get to your harvest date. You'll start seeing the stalks kind of flop over, and then you'll know that you're getting close to your harvest time. And one other thing to remember about onions is that the bulbs will kind of stick up out of the ground. That actually helps them to develop better. You don't have to cover them back up in dirt. Don't get worried if you're seeing all your onion bulbs sticking out of the ground. The main part is that root being down in the dirt, and that's where they're drawing their nutrients from. The whole bulb itself does not have to be covered, and onions on their own will kind of push up. Beets and there's other root vegetables that do similar things where they kind of have more of a root in the center bottom of the bulb, and that's where they're drawing their nutrients from, but they kind of want to push up out of the soil and grow. So if you are a new gardener and haven't grown onions before, that's just something to keep in mind. All right, so that's getting Walla Walla Sweet Onions started from seed. And like I said, that will also apply to any other type of variety that you are growing for the most part. Most onions kind of all grow the same. So if you haven't grown onions before, give it a try. It might be an easy first crop to get started with early in the season. And if you get the seeds, if you're able to get the seeds, I recommend maybe trying Walla Walla Sweet Onions for a mild sweet onion to grow for your first onion crop. And, let me know in the comments below, let me know what kind of onion varieties you've grown. Have you grown Walla Walla Sweets before? Or do you prefer some other type of variety? Do you like the spicier ones or red onions, or, what is it that you prefer to grow? But let me know. But I appreciate that you're here hanging out with me again today. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Give this video a like and a share. And I don't know, we will see you again soon. And thanks again for being here. All right, guys, have a fantastic day. Namaste.